I'm Eliza-May Austin, and this is the first Purple Team podcast. I'm joined today by Ashraf Aboukass, who is the Head of Global Security Architecture at Schroders. Just a note, if you hear this sound, that just means that something is wrong with the editing.
So, Ashraf, you are the Head of Security at Schroders. Could you just give us an intro to yourself and tell us just a bit about yourself other than your title and what your name is?
Yeah, the title is a bit long-winded. So Global Head of Security Architecture, Engineering and Operations. Really, what that means is that I have about 3-4 large functions that I'm tasked with. Really, what I'm tasked with is defending the organization and making sure that security architecture and cyber defense and cyber engineering is all aligned to be as effective as possible. And that's globally. So I run penetration testing program. We create all the standards from security design principles, security requirements, functional requirements. And also one of my teams maintains and engineers these set of security tools that we used, some of which are custom and some of which are mainstream. So it's a broad range of activities that I have to manage.
Awesome. So I think that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to speak to you about purple teaming, was because you kind of have to have knowledge, even if it's not particularly in depth, but you have to have some sort of knowledge and interest in how these different sections of security work together and potentially can work together and how it can benefit. So the other reason is I know that you set up a group pre-COVID, which is a shame because, I don't know if you've done anything with that, but it was a purple team orientated group. So I definitely wanted to speak to you because clearly you're very passionate about purple teaming, but I often find that I have to explain to people what purple teaming is. So mainly at networking events and whatnot. And just because you seem to have an interest in it, where did that interest come from?
Okay. Yeah, so unfortunately, just before COVID hit, I tried to set up the Purple Standard and we had the venue ready. It had to be called off because it was just before the quarantine and isolation measures were put in place. So we didn't want to take any risks. So I started thinking about Purple Team quite a long time ago. And I always thought that the idea was it was a good principle, it was a good philosophy, but nobody really, in my mind, did it properly. And there was no real standard of doing purple teaming, right? There was nothing really out there. Everyone had their own interpretation of it. Some people thought red teaming is purple teaming, and some people thought blue versus red is not purple teaming. Everyone had their own ideas of scenario-based exercises is the same, or threat-based pen testing is maybe the same. So everybody had their own ideas of what purple teaming is, and I think still to this day people have their own thoughts. And so I actually wanted. So we did a lot of pen tests, right? We people come in, hit and run, do a pen test. They'll bring some findings, and then those findings will be bounced back from blue team to red team, from blue team to the developers, etc. So those results will be just bouncing around in the organization, and it was very difficult to find. There was no structure about it, if I'm completely honest, and also the inclusion from the dev teams was far too late. You incurred quite a lot of costs to bring the pen testers back in again, to then retest or to then explain to the developers what they found and what they didn't find, and then to actually then do these debriefs with the blue team. So it was all a bit disjoint, and I think a lot of pen tests are probably like that to this day. You get a whole load of ninjas coming in, they absolutely smash through your network, they give you some results, they go away, and then they come back again and do it all over again in a different way. So you're constantly having this, and blue teams are not seen as cool and sexy kind of teams out there. So the red is sexy and blue is boring. So I kind of wanted to just be a bit more inclusive, and that's where for me it was right. Let's actually think about how we can improve red versus blue, or red and blue and dev and stakeholders, and actually get some structure around this. So that's where for me, hold up, we need to start doing some purple teaming here, and it's not a one-off hit and run. This needs to be continuous. So we need to start getting some real good structure whereby we're not wasting money. We want to do more tests as well, by the way. The need came from, we want to do many more tests, and therefore pen test engagements are quite expensive. They take a long time to plan. You have to schedule them with the vendors, and like I said, it's probably 4 weeks of scheduling, a week or 4 days or 5 days of testing, and then another 2, 3, 4 weeks of remediation. So the whole thing takes a long time, and if you want to do all your main business applications, your critical systems, it's quite tiring. The idea for us was first and foremost gain the senior executive commitment to support the running of continuous security testing, whatever we called it. So the first challenge was for me to get that senior management approval at the highest level, actually, your CTO and above, right? To say, look, guys, we'd like the permission to test at will. Okay, so a bit of like the chaos monkey, the chaos monkey, but we will be pragmatic, and we will be somewhat reserved. We won't do any stress testing, we won't do any load testing, etc. No denial of service attacks, but we would like to find vulnerabilities in production, and we would like to test. We want to find these real issues and real problems. And what we're going to do is we're going to be very inclusive. We'll structure this. We'll have a terms. We'll have a forum, a terms of reference. We'll have a structure and how we do the test. We'll have a way that we can communicate, a channel set up to communicate service management to infrastructure, to the development team, to the business application owner, to security, to the blue team, the whole shebang. Everybody who wants to be involved will be involved. There'll be a dedicated purple virtual team, an extended purple virtual team. So that was first and foremost what we had to do, and then we will come back to you guys at the senior management level and say, here's what we did this month, and here's what we're going to plan to do next month, and we keep doing that continuously. Now, if we then chose to bring in a third party as yourselves to come in and help us with that activity, what we then had is a platform and a structure on how to do it. We know what we're attacking, so we know if it's going to be scenario based or it's going to be controlled based, whatever it might be. We know. You will know everybody who's in that virtual purple team. You will have a channel to communicate with the blue team, to communicate with the developers, the business application owners, etc., and the support staff. Everything will be highlighted, and it'll be a lot more structured, so that when you're actually doing some tests, you're actually letting the guys know, and then you're saying, I'm testing this, and therefore the people who own that get immediately notified that you're testing this. So they can actually jump onto the team's channel and say, right, you're testing this, I've seen this. And actually, even in the scoping, they can say, hey, guys, don't bother doing that way, because we already know there's a vulnerability here. So try this. And by the way, don't waste your time doing that test, because that's not going to work. But if you tweaked it slightly to do this, you're going to be effective. So that's the whole point, is to get the most out of the engagement. So it's very kind of white box, not black box.
Absolutely, that's the way it needs to be with purple team, and it has to be transparent, because otherwise you're not going to learn from it, and that's kind of the point. Go on.
We're not trying to kind of set up the application developers or whatever the infrastructure guys are.
No.
We're saying to them, look, guys, we're helping you find issues, and you're going to help us find issues, and we're going to help each other fix them. That's really what we're saying. So it kind of also it's a nice thing to do. Like if you're doing infrastructure work all day, or if you're doing like defensive work all day, or if you're doing development work all day, this is an opportunity to bring together all those teams in a fun and exciting, let's break some shit and let's fix some shit together, and we don't need to blame each other.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of that, you'll know that as well. There's a lot of like ego, and this is not my team's fault or my team's responsibility across the board. So absolutely, it's a massive way to like bring some camaraderie around.
Yeah, exactly. So that was it. So it was just trying to that was the hardest thing, if I'm completely honest. People were very scared. Just said, look, we need to make truce here and just say, look, guys, we want you to nominate. So also we said, look, can you also volunteer every month? Can you volunteer things that you want us to do and hit? And also what we said is we'll agree a set of technical qualification standards that you yourselves can also switch hats, and you can be the red team in this purple teaming virtual team. So if you want to be the people who are breakers, so we got the breakers, the fixers, and the builders. So you can switch from being a builder to a breaker, or a breaker to a fixer. You could do that. So you would wear that hat and say, right, this is my app. So for example, if I'm an exchange expert, I'm the best person to tell you where the vulnerabilities lie. So I will wear that breaker hat, and I will then work alongside a red teamer and say, right, yeah, you know how to break stuff, but I know this tool very well and this application very well. We work together, we'll probably break more shit faster. That's the reality. So that was the idea as well. Put them to break things together. It's really a philosophy in a print. So, but the problem I found was that nothing out there is written. So I decided to start writing a book on this. So I'm trying to write a standard on this, so that look, guys, if you want to do it, here's my take or my view or our view of how it's done. Maybe you can structure it using this framework and this approach, and that's the idea. So that's where the purple team standard came from. But let's see, we haven't even had the first one out there yet due to the COVID.
Yeah.
I'm still.
I've started writing a book as well, but mine's not standard based. Mine's just sort of a brain dump at the moment. Interesting. I'd be really keen to read yours actually, because I think that we're really similar. Like we've got really similar ideas, but yours is mine's more of a consultancy based, and your ideas are very much centered around an internal corporate environment, and I think that's really interesting dynamic. So it would be a vastly different read for anyone going to read it. So go on.
What I was saying is that one glove doesn't fit all of this stuff. So what we're trying to write here is an enterprise grade or enterprise level standard, because the challenges that you have at an enterprise level, and I'm saying you can consider yourself enterprise, maybe 2,000 plus users, is different to the challenges that 500 to 100 users, 500 users you have, and actually probably still different when you reach that really crazy 50,000 plus employees. Like that's just crazy scale there. So mine's on that, on that 5,000 to 50,000 scale. This is what you might do, and it might not. It depends on the vertical. And this is obviously written from an experience, from a financial background experience as well. So again, I think too many things out there. We're trying to do one glove that fits all approach, and it doesn't work. That's why we have like 50 tools out there, right? One thing for one, and then it just doesn't gel together. So that's another topic. We can do that in another podcast.
Okay, great. So going back to like what we were just saying about your interest being around purple teaming in large corporates, and how you've sort of deployed that internally at Schroders, as a senior in that area, do you see that purple teaming significantly outweighs the benefits of a traditional penetration test?
I don't think purple teaming is there to replace traditional penetration test, because sometimes people want that. Some people actually want, look, I just want to test one thing by an external company, and when you give me the results on that, it might be, for example, for a third party that you're testing. You're not going to do purple teaming on there.
Yeah, absolutely not.
Yeah, so people are going to say, right, we're onboarding this new application. It's a SaaS-based service, whatever, and we need it pen tested. Okay, cool. We'll organize a pen test. Either we'll do a bit of tests ourselves internally, or we would just kind of say, okay, we work with these vendors. These are the ones that we're going to commission for this work. So I don't think it replaces it. I think it adds a lot of value, whereby when you're doing more testing internally and you're taking a purple teaming approach, the benefits are that the organization is always ready for a test, and it knows these things happen. There's not a shock and or surprise. All of the kind of mechanisms to deal with the vulnerabilities, to report them, they're all there because of the purple teaming initiative that you've done. So I think you do more of the purple teaming than you do red teaming, or just pen testing, if you would like to call it, because it's more cost effective. So it allows you to reduce the amount of red teaming that you're going to do. I think that's what it probably does more than anything.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a way of working, isn't it? Rather than, especially when you're doing it internal, it's a way of working rather than a significant engagement within itself. And something that your security can become predicated upon, and I think that's quite interesting. And that's where I see purple teaming going. What's the future of purple teaming for you?
I think that the future for us is to dedicate more time to do purple teaming and to really start to I want to sew it into the fabric of what we do. It's for me, it's like continuous security. I think in the future there may be a time where human-based penetration testing might become a very niche skill, and a very kind of I mean, right now we're doing quite a lot of tests that could be like machine-based. And as I don't know, in the next 5 to 10 years, all of those tests that you typically have got a pen tester to do or a junior pen tester to do, those are all going to be automated, right? They're all going to be sewn in within the fabric of the software development lifecycle, that or product being released, and then the defense team will have all of these. Like ourselves, we have loads of tests that are ongoing, that are automatic, etc. And then you'll just have essentially the ninja that turns up and just takes a human-based wisdom approach to all of this. So for me, purple teaming will eventually become a purple teaming as code or something like that, right? It will just be, right, this is how we're doing it. It's just a set of standards of how you test, what you test, who tests it, who responds, and when the remediation vulnerabilities are fixed, etc. So the human element might disappear somewhat, and then I think you just come back to a real kind of, okay, you have pen testing where you want to really think outside the box, bring some ninjas in and do something like spectacular.
Bring some
That's what I think.
Do something.
Yeah, do something spectacular that we've not managed to figure out. Get some new brains in there.
This podcast is sponsored by thatsecurity.company, specialists in purple teaming and security operations center development.
When lockdown's finished, what's the first thing you're going to go out and do, Ashraf?
Swimming pool.
That's so random. So random. What the hell?
I'm dying to go swimming. I am absolutely dying to jump in a nice, big, cold pool.
With a load of strangers half naked.
Yes. Hopefully an open park. Yeah, kind of a public line. I just want to just chill in the pool. A big pool, just swim. I miss swimming.
Well, I was not expecting that answer.
Yeah.
I don't know what I was expecting, but I was not expecting public soup.
Yep, just a big pool. I would say I can't wait to go back to the gym, but actually I just can't wait to because you can do exercise really, But I want to swim. Yeah, I want to swim. Just cool down in the pool.
It was a nice thought, actually, on a hot day like today. So brilliant. Okay. Well, thank you. Genuinely, thank you for taking the time to have this conversation with me. It's been awesome. I could talk to you all day about it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me.
So that was it from the Purple Team podcast. I hope you listen next time.